اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم وجعلنا مما استمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Tonight, inshallah, we will commence with the actual salah. How do we perform the salah? How do we keep our hands? What is necessary for the salah to be valid, and what action will actually invalidate the salah. I apologize to those who are not attending the class. I have to keep the speaker on because it gives sound to the YouTube. So sorry for disturbing anybody. So firstly, we're going to be doing the arkan of salah, right? The arkan of salah. Arkan of salah. Now the word arkan is the plural of the word rukn. Now rukn is a support, right? It's taken like from a house. It has certain supports. If for example, a foundation or a supporting wall, if you were to throw the supporting walls down, the house will break down. So like that, if you take away the rukn or the support of salah, the salah breaks down. So this is what the rukn is. It's an arkan. It is sometimes translated as an integral or a fundamental part. A fundamental part, meaning it has to be there. If this is not there, the salah is not intact. So this is what is called an arkan. According to the Shafi'i madhab, we'll just go through with the arkans. However, I just want to read something from the Hanafiya side. We can go into more detail if there's any questions with regards to that. According to the Hanafiya. Yeah, so a rukn is a singular form. A rukn is one rukn, and you get many arkan. So one rukn, many arkan. So, this is just something interesting from the Hanafiya perspective. The Hanafiya don't have, they will have the fara'id and they got wajib. They got something that is fard, they got something that is wajib. Right? Both you can translate as necessary or compulsory. The Shafi don't have that. They just go, because if you don't have any of these things, the salah is invalid. Okay? So I'm gonna read something from the Hanafi perspective, and then then I'll give you the Shafi arkans, not to confuse anybody. And then if there's any differences, then we'll highlight that. Okay. Remember, I'm finding it's very difficult to find my feet in this in District 6. This was the origin of my parents, by the way. Yeah, the finding my feet over here. So yeah, you must just bear with me, inshallah. I've been chopping and changing books the whole time as I'm sitting here, finding finding my groove. Very difficult, but inshallah we're getting there. So the Hanafi have something called the fara'id. They have 6 fara'id, alright, 6 fards, 6 compulsory things, and then they have also a differentiation between what is wajib. Now they say a wajib, if you leave out the wajib, let me read this for you. والواجبات الصلاة 18 is going to be 18 by them. والواجب عندهم ما ثبت بدليل فيه شبهة. A wajib is something that is also compulsory, but the proofs of it is not as strong as a fard. In other words, the fard, just to speak on basic terms, according to the Hanafiya, is supported by extremely undeniable strong evidence. You cannot deny it. A wajib, they say it's the same thing, is also compulsory, but the evidence supporting that is not as strong. So they make a differentiation between this. Both is rukn, arkan, both is principles, fundamental principles. It has to be there. But there's a differentiation between the two, what is compulsory and what is wajib, and I'll tell you why. A wajib, istiqaqul iqab bitarki amdan. You get punished if you leave it out. According to them, according to the Hanafiya, if you leave out something that is wajib, you're going to get punished. So, لكن لا تفسد الصلاة, but لا تفسد الصلاة بتركي, but your salah is still intact. They say if you leave out the wajib, your salah is still okay. Your salah will still be accepted. How? ويلزم سجود السهو لنقص الصلاة بترك الواجب سهوا. So if you leave out, they say if you leave out something that the Hanafiya considers wajib, you leave it out because you forgot, then you must make sujood sahwi. Right? We will speak the forgetful sujood. You must make it. Then you can actually make it up. According to the Hanafiya, again, you have two things. You get something that is fard, something that is wajib. Fard are 6 things. We're going to go through that after the Shafi perspective of all the arkans. So according to the Hanafiya, there's 6 things that is fard. It's compulsory, meaning that the proof and the evidence for that, this compulsory deed called the fard, is undeniable, right? But when it comes to wajib, it's also compulsory. You can't leave it out. But it's not the proofs that supports the fact that it is compulsory is not that strong. So that's why they make the differentiation between a fard and a wajib. So if you leave out a wajib, if you leave it out forgetfully, right? You have to make sujudu sahwi. Then you can make it up. وَيَجِبُ إِعَادَةُ الصَّلَاةِ بِتَرْكِ الْوَاجِبِ عَمْدًا. However, if you leave it out purposefully and you don't make sujudu sahwi, then you must make your salah over. Somebody tell you after you made salah, say, you left out the wajib. Say, what wajib did I leave out? So no, you forgot to do this, you forgot to do that. A wajib. Then you must make the salah over again. You have to make the salah over again. أو سهوا إن لم يسجد سجود السهو له. Also, so if you did it on purpose, right, you left it out, your salah is spoiled. Or if you didn't make the sujudu sahwi, so you didn't do it on purpose, but you didn't make the sujudu sahwi, meaning the forgetful sujud to make it up, then your salah is also not valid. وَإِن لَمْ يُعِدْهَا يَكُونُ فَاسِقًا آثِمًا. If you don't repeat the salah, you're going to be a sinner. So I don't want to go into detail now with regards to that. Just that the Hanafiya, understand the Hanafi madhab, they got the difference between fard and wajib. So there's actually a bit of a difference over here. But because most of us are Shafi over here, we're going to do the Shafi narrative. We're going to go through the Shafi text, and then we'll look at the difference between in the Hanafiya madhab. So we'll go through all of these actions first. Now, let's see if we can go right through with the salat till the taslim. It might be a long shot, but let's see if we can go from the beginning to the end. So firstly, according to the Shafi'i, what is a rukn? So we just spoke about what's a rukn now. So what's a rukn? A rukn is وَرُكْنُ شَيْءٍ مَا كَانَ جُزْءًا أَسَاسِيًا مِنْهُ. It's something that is vital. It must be there. So imagine these pillars are keeping up the top floor. So these are all arkan. You take these arkans away, it's going to fall down. Okay, it's a vital part of it. كَالْجِدَارِ مِنَ الْغُرْفَةِ. But what is important here is that the rukn is part of the salah, like a shart. You know, it's a shart like of salah is wudu. We spoke about this. A shart of to cover your awrah, for example. Last week we spoke about the awrah, and we said the difference is the Shafi'i allows the hands and the face to be uncovered for the females, but for that was the last point we mentioned. The Hanafi allows the feet to be open. Right? It allows the feet to be open. It's not part of the awrah in salah according to the Hanafiya. Right? So, a strange point over there, you find females following the Shafi'i madhab. Right? And then their feet is uncovered. Yeah. Yeah, then when it comes time to perform salah, then they cover the feet. So, no, just, yeah. Because, you see, the thing is with studying the differences of madhab, this is very dangerous in a way that, you think, oh, there's a difference of opinion on that, there's a difference of opinion on that. The interesting about this, we can appreciate one another's opinion, right, between the Shafi and the Hanafi. Also, it makes you more tolerant if somebody does something different. Also, if you see that it's contrary to what you learned, it's still acceptable. It's just sometimes the very basic things we sometimes just forget about. Because it was madrasa, and then afterwards it was high school, and we left. That's sometimes where we left it off, and then alhamdulillah we come back and we remind ourselves about these basic things that we might have forgotten. So a rukn it's a part of it. A shart, a condition like wudu, is not part of salah, but it's a condition of salah. You with me? And it's a condition that you must have while you're making salah. So it's almost like a rukn. A rukn is, but it's not there before, because a rukn is part of the salah only. So both a condition, which is a shart, and a rukn is important, or it's vital for the salah to be valid. But the difference is a shart, the condition is there before the salah. It can be there after this, because you can have wudu before salah, you can have wudu after salah. But like, let's say, making a ruku, that's a part of salah. You can't leave that out. It's part and parcel of salah. So, فأجزاء الصلاة إذن أركانها كالركوع والسجود ونحوها ولا يتكامل وجود الصلاة ولا تتوفر صحتها إلا بأن يتكامل فيها جميع أجزائها بالشكل والترتيب الواردين عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعن جبريل عليه الصلاة والسلام. So the salah will not be valid unless we got all the vital pillars intact, right? Like we've said, like how it was taught to us by Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم and Jibreel عليه السلام. ونشرح كل واحد منها على واحدة. So let's speak about every rukn in salah, every single rukn in salah. The first one is a niyyah. Now the niyyah is very often misunderstood. A niyyah is translated as an intention. Now if I were to ask you, show me how the intention look, right? Now you can't show me how the intention look. If I were to ask you, show me how you make the sujood, you can show me. How do you make a bow down, you can show me. How do you make takbiratul ihram, you can show me. But you can't show me how an intention look. So where is this intention? So some will say that, look, an intention is what we say. Nawaitu an usalli fardhu salati, like I intend to perform salah for maghrib 3 rak'ats facing the qibla, all. So scholars recommend that you say this verbally, that you verbalize that you say what you feel, what is in your heart. But if you don't say it, you still have an intention. You just haven't uttered it outside. So it's recommended that you say it, yes, that you utter it, yatalaffadhu bihi, that you utter this. Where did the proof of this come from? Because you find that the Prophet ﷺ never said nawaitu usalli fardha salat. He never said those intentions that we learn in madrasa for salah. The 2 rak'ahs before dhuhr, the 4 rak'ahs for dhuhr. He never said this. We don't have a hadith in Bukhari, Muslim, any of the hadith books saying that this is an intention. This is how you have to say the intention. So where does the scholars get the proof that this is actually recommended if it hasn't come in hadith? The proof is the Prophet ﷺ, for example, is one proof. He comes home and he asked Aisha radiallahu anha, is there anything to eat at home? Is there anything at home to eat? Then she says no, radiallahu anha. And then he says, فَإِنِّي صَائِمٌ. Then he tells her, so I'm going to fast. فَإِنِّي صَائِمٌ. Now he says what he's going to do. He already is going to fast, but he pronounced it. And you find that at Hajj, he also gave the intention. So that is a basis that it is, there's a basis that is a recommendation to utter the intention that is in your heart. But whether you say it or whether you don't say it, doesn't matter. What the true intention is something you can't see, it's something you can't hear. Where does it happen? It happens in your heart. If you left home to come to the masjid, you didn't say, I intend to go to the mosque to make salah. But if I were to ask you where you're going, you say, I'm going to the masjid. Only if I ask you, you're going to say it. You with me? So an intention happens in the heart. You need to know and understand what you're going to do. That is it. Then you can also verbalize it. Many scholars has recommended that you verbalize the intention, but you won't find that in a hadith book. It is recommended, and there is some basis for this in the hadith. Okay, so an intention is, you have to be very aware of what you're going to do, for who you're going to do it, for what salah you're going to perform. You have to be aware of that, and it's very difficult not to have an intention. You just have to be aware of what you're doing. If you're sleepwalking, maybe you're not going to have an intention. Or you might be on some type of medication and you don't know what you're doing. Then you don't have an intention. But you can't. It's very difficult not to have an intention. So you have people suffering from what they call is waswasa. You get people doing this. I know I did it once or twice. Where you think intention is not there. Because when you say Allahu Akbar, there's a shaitan. His name is called Khanzab. Khanzab, that's his name. That's the title, or that's the name given to this particular type of devil, this type of jinn. He's there to disturb your salah. All of a sudden, when you're making salah, you simply cannot count till 4 anymore. You're confused whether it's 2 or 3 or 4. If it happened once, we can understand. But if this happened constantly on a daily basis, it means that you are suffering from the whisperings of shaitan. And there's ways to get rid of that. Okay? But Also, the one way to get rid of that is to understand what an intention is. The minute you came here for salah, you imagine you're making salah and you realize, I didn't say my intention. Doesn't matter if you said it or not. The fact is you knew you're going to make salah. That is it, right? That is your intention. This is part and parcel of salah. So the minute you have an intention and you're saying Allahu Akbar, as you're saying Allahu Akbar, that intention is already there because you know what you're doing, right? You can't say Allahu Akbar just because you feel like it, and then you see, okay, afterwards while you're reciting, now I'm going to make my intention. Your intention must be there from the beginning of the salah. So that's the intention. Now, this is a famous hadith that we heard probably all our lives, that إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Intentions are judged according to the actions. The important thing over here is there has to be an action to be weighed on the day of Qiyamah. That action, the value of that action is according to your intention. So if you perform salah, you stood in front, you put on the mic so people can hear how nice you recite. That's going to take away from your reward, because that's not for the sake of Allah. That's to show off in front of people. You want to show people how beautiful is your tawb, or that type of a thing. You want honor or status in front of people, that's going to take away from your reward. You might even not have a reward after that. The Prophet ﷺ says that Rubba Sa'im, there's so much times that a fasting person, لَيْسَ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعُ وَالْعَطَشُ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. A person when he fasts, he don't get any reward except he's hungry and thirsty. And sometimes you stand up at night and you don't get no reward, إِلَّا السَّهَرِ, except you just wakey. And you don't get no reward because you did it for something else. So the intention is very, very important. Why we do what we do, right? And we know we are true to ourselves. So we need to check our intention constantly. We basically need to remove from our hearts anything that is attached to this dunya, and all that is in our hearts is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is also good to know is that sometimes, so if you put an action on the day of Qiyamah on the scales, even if it can be Hajj, it can be an Umrah, it can be Sadaqah, it can be anything. If you don't have the right intention, it's not going to weigh anything. It's not going to mean anything. You need an intention to make the action weigh something. But you can get an intention without an action. So if you intend to do good, you want to help somebody, but you can't because you're not by the means yourself, but you wish you could help that person. That's an intention, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you with that intention as if it is a good deed. Right? This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا بُدَّ لِصِحَّتِهَا أَن تَقْتَرِنُ بِتَكْبِيرَةِ الْإِحْرَامِ. So it's very important that the intention must be there when you're saying Allahu Akbar. The Takbiratul Ihram, we're going to do that next. To say Allahu Akbar, you must say Allahu Akbar, right? Moving the hands is recommended, but you must say Allahu Akbar. When you say Allahu Akbar, that is the actions of salah being manifest now. The words is part of your salah. When you say Allahu Akbar, you're now in your salah, and the intention must be there while you are saying that Allahu Akbar. If it's not there, then your salah is not valid. It has to be there from the beginning of the salah till the end of the salah. وَمَحَلُّهَا الْقَلْبِ. Remember, the place is in the heart. The place where the intention takes place is in the heart. بحيث يكون قلبه متنبها أثناء التلفظ بالتكبير إلى قصد الصلاة متذكرا نوعها وفرضيتها ولا يشترط تحريك اللسان بها. You must so if you want to know now how much you have the intention, you need to know that it's fard or not fard. You need to know what type of ibadah you're doing. It can be a sunnah ibadah, it can be a fard ibadah. It can be a compulsory salah, like the 5 for the salahs that we have, or it can be a sunnah salah. So you need to know what type of salah it is, compulsory or not compulsory. It's very important, because if you engage in something that is compulsory, like for example, if you engage in a compulsory fast, you can't break your fast. Somebody invites you to eat, right, and you're fasting, but it's a sunnah fast, you can break your fast. It's up to you if you want to continue with it or not continue with it. It's totally up to you. Okay? But if you have commenced with something that is fard, you can't break your fast. Something that is compulsory, you can't break your fast. So it does have a effect on the action. So you must know the type of salah you're going to make. وَفَرْضِيَتَهَا. Yeah. So that basically you must know the type of ibadah we're going to make salah, and it is compulsory. That's it. That's what it is to have an intention. That's not very difficult. That's number one. Is there any questions with regards to that intention? Usually the problem come in is when we regard the intention as how much you say your intention, because then everything gets confusing. Nawaitu, so make qabliyatan, ba'diyatan, ada, qada, and all of those things. That's when it gets confusing. So we need to know that the intention lies in the heart. Okay, saying it is just recommended. Okay, it's recommended by the scholars. By saying it, you make the intention you can even make it stronger. Now I'm going to make salah for the sake of Allah. You don't have to say it, but when you say it, it's actually, you prepare your mind for it. So that's the first arkan. If you leave out the intention, your salah is not accepted. Right. The second pillar, integral, rukun, is al-qiyam ma'al qudrati fi salati al-mafruḍa. You have to stand. What's that? Oh, yes. Yeah, go for it. Yes, so that's exactly what we say. Yes, so you're going to the intention, you're going to the masjid to make some. Yeah. That's okay. So your intention is there. So the recommendation is that you say it out with your. Some people say don't say it. Alright, but according to the Shafi now, it's recommended that you say it. And there is some basis, remember, the basis I mentioned to you, 2 incidents. The one where the Prophet made Hajj and he announced his Hajj. The counter argument is, he said the type of Hajj he's going to make so everybody can know what he's going to do. That's the counter argument. And I don't know how you're going to counter argument the fact that he said that, okay, I'm going to fast. The counter argument may probably be speaking to his wife. Yes, that's this a private conversation. But it's hadith, so we can use it. So the second is al-qiyam ma'al qudrati fi salati al-mafruḍa. This is very important. You have to stand if you are capable of standing. If you are capable of standing. Now when you say capable, the capability of you standing mustn't hurt you. So if somebody got there's maybe got arthritis in the knees or there's an injury in the leg, can he stand? Yes, but it's going to hurt him. That doesn't mean you're capable. It means you're hurting your body. You mustn't harm your body if you're going to be standing. For example, you're bending your back because your back might be deformed for some reason. It doesn't mean you have to hurt yourself and you have that excruciating pain because you're capable of standing. So capable means here you can stand without hurting yourself. Right? Without hurting yourself. So if you can stand and there's no problem for standing, it's compulsory for you to stand. You must stand. So if you sit and make salah, this is a fard salah, a compulsory salah, then your salah will not be valid. So you can't sit. If you're able to stand, especially as the gentleman gets older, it's difficult for him to stand. It's important that he stand as far as possible. Right? The minute he finds his discomfort or it's hurting his health, then he must sit. But if there's no discomfort, he can stand. So, dalilu hada rukn. What is the proof of this? It comes in Bukhari that Imran ibn Husayn, this is the companion, Imran ibn Husayn radiallahu anhu, قال, he says, كانت بواسير. So there was a condition that he had. He had a certain condition that made it uncomfortable for him to stand. فسألت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الصلاة. So I asked him about the salah. So how can I make salah? Because he had some discomfort. Right? He had some discomfort. Then the Prophet ﷺ says, "Salli qa'iman." You have to stand while you're making salli, make salah qa'iman, while you are standing. فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ فَقَاعِدًا. Then the Prophet ﷺ says, if you find it that it's difficult for you to stand, if you're not able to stand, then sit. If you're not able to stand, then sit. So many elderly males and females, they have this question because their entire life they're going down and they're making sujood, and it's obviously you get used to that, and you love putting your head down, or you love to stand, and now they don't want to sit. They will force themselves to stand. Understand in that case that if you're hurting your body, this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. He doesn't want you to hurt your body. Then if it's hurting yourself, you have to sit. So the Prophet ﷺ says, Salli qa'iman, perform salah while you're standing. But if you're not able, then sit down. فَقَاعِدًا فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ فَعَلَى جَنْبٍ. See, if you can't, then do it on your side. In other words, if you're so sick you can't stand up, it's weak for you, you're hurting your body. You're hurting your body, you can't stand up. You can force yourself to stand up, but you're going to hurt yourself. Then even if you're laying on your side, then you can make salah like that. Okay? So the idea is, stand if you are capable. So that is the second integral. So if somebody was capable of standing in the fard, in the compulsory salah, and he sat, his salah is invalid. Salah is not valid anymore. Okay? This is only in the fard salah. We're going to do the sunnah again. In a sunnah salah, you can sit, but you're going to get half the reward. If there's nothing wrong with you, you just don't want to stand because you don't want to stand, the sunnah salah will still be valid and you will still be rewarded, but you're going to get half the reward. You're going to get far less reward than what you have done if you stand, because this is now sunnah. This is where you get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you choose how far you want to go. Right? So if you just died and you can't stand, it's not a problem. Your salah will still be valid. This is if it's a sunnah, but not a fard. Not a fard. So yeah, he had some discomfort, right? He had some discomfort. But there was like what they call as pals. He had pals. It was very difficult for him. Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. So the Prophet ﷺ says, look, just you take it upon yourself. If you can stand, stand. If you can't stand, sit. If you can't sit, then lay down. Right? Until you feel, obviously, if he can stand again, then he can stand. وَإِنَّمَا يُعْتَبَرُ الرَّجُلُ قَائِمًا إِذَا كَانَ مُنْتَصِبُ الْقَامَةِ. Now, what is standing? What is it to be standing? So we know this. We're not going to go into detail with this. His back must be upright. Right? Then that is known as standing. فَإِذَا انْحَنَى دُونَ عُذْرٍ بِحَيْثُ أَمْكَنَ أَنْ تَلَامَسَ رَاحَةً يَدَهُ رُكْبَتَهُ بَطَلَتْ صَلَاتُهُ. If he's leaning for no reason, right? If he's leaning for no reason, then his salah is invalid. His back has to be straight. He has to be standing if he's capable. لأن ركن القيام فقد في جزء من صلاته وإذا قدر المصلي على الوقوف في بعض صلاته وعجز في بعضها الآخر وقف حيث يمكن. So I'm not translating the book now. I'm just like roughly reading and then I'm just translating to you. So I'm just using it as a basis and as a guide. If you can stand in your first, it says 4 rakats, right? There's 4 standing. If you can stand in the first 2, but you can't do it in the second 2 because you realize you're getting weak, then you can sit in the next 2. If you can do it in the 1, and if you feel you did the first 2 sitting and you feel you can stand, right? So you can feel how you are. If you are sick, sometimes you have a very bad flu. You got a very bad flu, and sometimes it affects you, or you got a very bad headache. Sometimes you get a sinus headache and you can't stand. So you have to do the best that you can. Okay? And you feel you can stand, then you must stand. Alright. So that is with regards to standing. وَخَرَجَ بِقَيْدِ الصَّلَاةِ الْمَفْرُوضَةِ. So how do we know it's only the fard? Because I told you that if you can sit while you're making the nafil salah. The nafil is that which is not compulsory. So Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha, you have to stand. But what about the other prayers like before that and after that, which is the extra prayers? Where does the proof come that you can sit for that? فَإِنَّ الْقِيَامَ بِهَا مَنْدُوبٌ مُطْلَقًا. So we say it's highly recommended for you to be standing, right? Highly recommended for you to be standing. You get rewarded if you are going to stand, but you won't get punished if you leave it off. فَلَهُ أَنْ يَجْلِسَ فِيهَا سَوَاءً كَانَ قَادِرًا أَمْ لَا. Whether you're capable or not. Here's a hadith. رواه البخاري أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من صلى قائما فهو أفضل. Here's the proof. Hadith comes in Bukhari. I'm saying this proof over here also because there is a misunderstanding with regards to this. It's a misunderstanding with regards to this. Some people sit even in the fard salah. It's not for the fard, it's only for the sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ says, whoever performs salah standing, فَهُوَ أَفْضَل, it is better for him. Now here's a contradiction. There's a contradiction. I'll show you now. وَمَنْ صَلَّى قَاعِدًا, whoever sits, فَلَهُ نِصْفُ أَجْرِ الْقَائِمِ, he gets half the reward of the one who stands. وَمَنْ صَلَّى نَائِمًا, whoever makes salah while he's laying down, he gets half of the one who's sitting. So it's like half. The less you do in salah, the less is your reward. So do you see the contradiction over here? The one contradiction is the Prophet ﷺ told Imran ibn Hussein, he told him, you perform salah while you're standing. Salli qa'iman. And here the Prophet ﷺ says, he says something different. He says, whoever stands is better. So the one is commanding him to stand. And then he's saying, if you can't stand, then you can sit. Here, in the other hadith, the Prophet ﷺ saying, whoever performs salah while they're standing, it's better. So there's a contradiction. The one is a command, you must stand. The other one is, it's saying it's better. So it's, yes, this is where the division come in. That day where the Prophet ﷺ is commanding, that is only in the compulsory prayers. Here where the Prophet ﷺ is saying it's better for you to stand, this is when it's sunnah salah. Sunnah salah. Right? Then obviously if you stand, you get the best reward. If you sit, you get half. If you lay down, you get even less the reward, half of that. So that will cover the two. Number one is intention. Number two is standing, right? And we spoke about standing now. Takbiratul ihram. Now, takbiratul ihram. Takbir is to say Allahu Akbar. Okay? The word ihram means to make something haram. Now, if you perform salah, there's certain things that's haram. What is haram while you making salah? Eating. You can't eat when you make salah. So salah resembles fasting in a way. What else can you not do in salah? Speaking. You can't speak in salah, right? So what is that? We're going to speak about that. You can look around. Maybe not the best thing to do, but it won't invalidate your salah. So once you make salah, once you say Allahu Akbar, you make certain things haram for you. That's why it's called the takbir of ihram, because you're making. So the first Allahu Akbar, that's called the takbiratul ihram. Now, according to the Hanafiya, they say this. According to one opinion of the Hanafiya madhab, they say this is a condition. You know, it's the condition for the validity of salah, not a rukn. But I don't get confuse anybody now. We'll just this is all arkans. According to the Shafi madhab, the proof that the takbiratul ihram is a rukn is the following. It comes in Abu Dawud and in other sources. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Miftahu salah at-tuhur." The keys of salah is tuhur. If you find your salah is weak, and we all suffer from that from sometimes. Sometimes you feel salah is not worth anything. In other words, you're not connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you want to work on your salah. There's various methods and things that you can do in your salah, things that you can think about, things that you can focus on. For example, you get people that don't know if it's first rakat, second rakat, third rakat. Like a trick to do is like when you first rakat, you can picture you in Makkah, for example. You can picture your feet is on the cold tiles. It's just a trick you can do. And then in the second rakat, you can picture you in Medina again. And in the third, you can say by Baitul Maqdis, you know. And in the fourth rakat, you can picture you back in the mosque. It's a trick you can do to trick the shaitan when he tries to trick you. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying that the keys to salah is your wudu. So many times people don't take wudu properly. When I say properly, asbigh al-wudu ala al-makari. The Prophet encourages us to take a proper wudu if you can, and especially in these cold days, take a proper wudu, because focusing on your salah will open. The Prophet called the miftah, a key. The key of salah is cleanliness. So what does a key do? It opens up your salah. So the more the stronger your key is, the more doors you're going to open in your salah. The more closer you're going to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So وَتَحْرِيمُهَا التَّكْبِيرِ. Tahrimuha means when the salah commences. What commences the salah is the takbir. That's the proof we're looking for. وَتَحْلِيلُهَا التَّسْلِيم. And to release yourself from the shackles of salah, in the sense that now you can talk and you can eat and all of those when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So the minute you say Allahu Akbar, certain things become haram for you, right? You engage in salah now, things are prohibited for you, otherwise your salah is going to be invalid. And the minute you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and then your the taslim, and then your salah is completed. So how do you say the takbiratul ihram? La budda min lafzillah. Now this is important. You have to say Allahu Akbar. This is not like the niyyah. You have to say Allahu Akbar. وَلَا تَضُرُّ زِيَادَةً لَا تَمْنَعُ الْإِسْمِ. This is just interesting, but this is interesting, right? It's interesting. It's not usually that we hear this. You can add something that doesn't prevent the name of Allah to be pronounced. Like you can say Allahul Akbar, right? It's uncommon. But if somebody made a mistake, a slip of the tongue, and he said, instead of saying Allahu Akbar, he said Allahul Akbar, it can still be accepted, right? Or Allahul Jalilu Akbar. Or you added something, but you added one of the attributes of Allah. Allahul Jalilu Akbar. You say Allah, the Magnificent, is great. It won't invalidate your salah. When you add something like that, by the Takbiratul Ihram. Very uncommon. All the fuqaha is saying if you did it by mistake or if you just did it for some reason, it won't invalidate your salah. فَلَوْ زَادَ كَلِمَةً لَيْسَتْ مِنْ صِفَاتِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. But if you add something that is not of the attributes of Allah, like you say, Allahu Huwa al-Akbar. If you say Allah, He is the greatest. That word Huwa there, shouldn't add Huwa. Because Huwa is not of the attributes of Allah. Huwa just means He. You're saying Allah, He is the greatest. Because you added He over there, that will not be accepted. أو غير الصيغة كأن قال أكبر الله. If you change the sequence, and then it's also not going to be valid. What is the proof of all of this? دليل ذلك ضرورة الاتباع لفعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. The proof of this is you have to follow what the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم has taught us. And the Prophet ﷺ says, "Salu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." Perform salah like you see me make salah. So we don't. This is where we learn the salah from Muhammad ﷺ, and it's compulsory to follow the Prophet ﷺ. وَقَدْ كَانَ مُلَازِمًا فِي تَكْبِيرَةِ الْإِحْرَامِ لِهَذِهِ الصِّيغَةِ. So the Prophet continuously and always said Allahu Akbar. If it was permissible to change it a bit, and you're saying Akbar Allah or something like that, then the Prophet would have said it. Right? He would have said it at least once to show it is permissible. Sometimes the Prophet ﷺ does something just to show you it is permissible, not like haram. Like for example, if you stand and drink, the Prophet ﷺ says whoever believes in Allah in the last day must sit when he drinks, but then he stands and drinks. Right? Sometimes due to an injury, or sometimes he stood and drink to show you it is permissible to stand. It's not haram to stand and drink, but it is makruh, right? Makruh, meaning offensive, not haram. So let me not confuse you. The proof of saying Allahu Akbar, and you must say it because the Prophet ﷺ always did so. So that's the proof of it. So we got 3 arkans now. Number 1, the niyyah. Number 2, you have to stand. And number 3, you must say Allahu Akbar. We're still going to get how do we say Allahu Akbar. Do we keep the hands separate? Do we keep it closed? Does it face the hands like this? Must it touch the ears? Must it touch that? We're going to get to that. But that's not part of the arkans. That's part of the sunan, right? Part of the sunan. We will get to that. Okay. شروطها يشترط لصحة تكبيرة الإحرام مراعاة الأمور التالية. For the takbiratul ihram to be valid, the following things must be observed. Number 1 is you must pronounce it while you're standing. If you say it while you أثناء القيام إلى الصلاة لم تصح. If you say Allahu Akbar while you're getting up, for example, you start saying like this Allahu Akbar, and then you say it while you're getting up to start your salah, it won't be accepted. You must start your takbiratul ihram while you're standing. There's just certain things you need to take care of. Number 2, أن ينطق بها حال استقبال القبلة. You have to face the qibla while you are saying Allahu Akbar, because it's part and parcel of your salah. And last week we said that facing the qibla means 180 degrees according to the fuqaha. So if the qibla is in front of me, dead center, then this is 180 degrees. You start here by 0 degrees, and then you get to 90, and you get to 180. If you're facing in any direction, like your hand is going any direction over here, your salah will still be valid. But if you're facing, you go past 180 degrees, then your salah is invalid. In other words, you're trying to find out where's the qibla, and the qibla is in front of you, but you're standing like this, and the qibla is in front of you. If you look at the qibla and you face towards the qibla, you're still in a 180 degrees span. Makes sense? Right? So that is, but you obviously have to face the qibla to the best of your ability. So you must say Allahu Akbar while you're facing the qibla. The third point with regards to saying takbiratul ihram, أن تكون باللغة العربية لكن من عجز عنها بالعربية لم يمكنه التعلم. So if somebody doesn't, you must say it in Arabic. But if you don't know Arabic and you don't have time to learn it, nobody can teach you, you can't learn in time, then you can say it in a different language because you have to do the best of your ability. So in other words, you want to make salah, There's no one to teach you how to make salah. You can't say Allahu Akbar, you can't speak Arabic. Right? You just came, you know the time of salah is in, you can't say Allah is the greatest. But you must not be able to, in other words, there's no means for you to learn. You can't go to a teacher because the teacher don't exist. There's no way you can go to a teacher, there's no way you can learn. You don't have access to the internet, you don't have access to ulama. Only in that very rare case. So you're looking at people like staying in the Amazon, maybe just embraced Islam because somebody who passed by there and then he accepted the Shahada, then he left. You get people like that, I think, still staying in there, somewhere where civilization hasn't reached yet. The third or the fourth point will be أي يسمع نفسه جميع حروفها إن كان صحيح السمع. You must be able to hear yourself. Otherwise, you didn't say anything. You must at least hear yourself. Other people can't hear you. You must be able to hear yourself in order for you to actually know that you uttered something. Otherwise, you didn't utter anything. Okay, this is also interesting with adhkar as well. It's recommended that if you're doing something softly, that at least you can hear yourself. مصاحبتها لنية كما مر ذكره. And also, the niyyah has to be there while you're saying the takbiratul ihram. That's what we said already at the beginning. So that's it. That's the takbiratul ihram. I don't think there's anything there that's you need to highlight. Just the fact, maybe if you're getting up. If you're getting up, make sure that you're standing properly before you say Allahu Akbar. Otherwise, it simply won't be counted. Now comes the fourth one. There's going to be differences over here between the Hanafi as well and the Shafi'i. Like we'll make mention after we do all these arkans. Qira'atul Fatiha. The recitation of the Fatiha must be there. وَرُكْنٌ فِي كُلِّ رَكَعَةٍ مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ أَيًّا كَانَ نَوْعُهَا. Doesn't matter if you're making a sunnah salah, if you're making a fard salah, any salah. The recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha must be there. If you didn't recite Surah Al-Fatiha, you did not perform salah. Okay, you did not perform salah. What is the proof of this? It comes in Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ says, لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. There is no salah for anybody that did not recite the Fatiha of the book of Allah. And the Fatiha refers to Surah Al-Fatiha. So if you did not recite Surah Al-Fatiha, the salah is simply not valid. The Basmala, ayatun minha. There's a difference of opinion over here. Differences of opinion over here, and we'll hide that later. Hanafiya don't have this opinion. The Shafi'i, the Basmala, to say Bismillah of the Fatiha, it's part and parcel of the Fatiha. Like you must say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's part of Surah Al-Fatiha according to the Shafi'i madhab. Okay? According to the Hanafiya, they have a different view, and we'll look at that a little bit later. But they do say it's highly recommended to say it softly. So if you are following the Hanafi madhab and you stand in front, it's highly recommended for you to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim before you start your recitation softly. And when you start reciting loudly in a loud salah, you start with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. According to the Shafi madhab, the Basmala is part and parcel of the Surah Fatiha. You cannot leave it out. Okay? فلا تصح الفاتحة التي لم يبدأها المصلي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. What's the proof of this? The proof according to the Shafi'i is the following. This hadith comes from Khuzaymah بإسناد صحيح and Salamah radiallahu anha. She says أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم آية. So Salma says that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم considered the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim as a verse. So that's a very explicit text. It's a very explicit text. One thing I want to make mention, when you have a madhab, you say what the madhab says and then you say a hadith supporting that madhab. But don't have the impression that the other madhab don't have a proof and think that our madhab is better than their madhab or their madhab is better than. If you have this opinion, you have misunderstood the entire concept of what the madhab is supposed to be. Okay, and we made mention of this before. There's none of this. Okay, we're going to leave the madhab. We're going to follow the hadith. what hadith you're going to follow. There's two. I just quoted you two contradicting hadith at the beginning. The one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, make salah while you're standing. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, it's better if you stand. That's a contradiction over there. The mother will come and will solve that contradiction for you. We are not able to do that ourselves. And if we did do that ourselves, we're going to come with a lot of opinions. We're going to start a new madhab. It's like reinventing a wheel, you know. And you can't just start a madhab. There's lots of conditions in order for you to be someone that can actually start a madhab. Right. So, so I quoted the proof of the Shafi'i perspective that it comes from hadith of Salama, that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is part and parcel of, it's a verse. The conditions for the validity of Surah Al-Fatiha is the following. I'm just going to run through this quickly. Number one, you must hear himself. You must be able to hear yourself. If you didn't hear yourself, that means you're not saying anything. Right? How can you not hear yourself? This is questionable when there's a loudspeaker playing. This is when this is questionable. So you must be able to recite in a manner that you can actually hear yourself, that it's possible for you to hear yourself. But if somebody makes a loud noise and you can't hear yourself because of that, that's where this, where this is actually questionable. So just to keep a tone that if there was no noise, you can hear yourself. أن يترتب القراءة حسب ترتيبها. So you must recite the Fatiha, first verse, second verse, third verse, etc. The tartib must be there. You mustn't make major mistakes. There's two types of mistakes in recitation. The first one is, it's called lahan. You can make a major mistake and a minor mistake. A minor mistake is when you don't pronounce your letters properly. Like your dad is not round enough, or your ra is not round enough, or you're not pulling where you're supposed to pull, like a noon and a fa, you must pull, and you're not pulling it properly. That is like minor mistakes. That's minor mistakes. Only those who are proficient in tajweed and learn Quran properly, they'll say, okay, you're making a mistake here, you're making a mistake there, you must pull long here, say your ra is more pronounced, or something like that. That is minor mistakes. That is overlooked if you're not capable of reciting properly. But major mistakes is when you change a letter. Like instead of saying walab dali, you say walab dalin. So you change the dal to a ba and a dal. So instead of saying walab dalin, you say walab dalin. Then that's a major mistake there. Your salah would be invalid. The salah would be invalid. That's a major mistake. So you have to, the pronunciation has to be correct. It must be recited in Arabic, just like we said with the takbiratul ihram. وَأَنْ يَقْرَأَهَا الْمُصَلِّي وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ. Again, you must be standing while you are reciting. If you make salah so fast, and some people do this, and they say while they're saying dalin, they're going down already. If you're down and you are reciting part of your Fatiha while you're in your ruku, then you haven't recited the Surah Al-Fatiha while you're standing. Then your salah will be invalid again. So these are things that has to be in place. Al-Aisha? The 7? Yes, but so those are all manners in which you can recite the Fatiha. You can go right through with no stop. So the Prophet ﷺ's recitation would be by stopping by every verse, and you would lengthen the. So those are all recommendations in terms of your salah. But many other the Quran is best to speak about that. The Quran is best to speak about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. So when you have to follow the Imam. So when he say Allah, you also say Ya Allah Akbar. Yeah, you also say it. Incumbent of you to say it. So there's certain things you have to say. That is one of it, yeah. Yes. There is actually a recommendation. There is a recommendation. Yeah. So that will be more of contemporary scholars. I have a book at home. I'll bring it next week, inshallah. So yeah. No, it will be interesting. Yeah. But just a guiding thing that your sujood must be more than your ruku. So if you're making this for ruku, then your sujood has to be further. That's just one. There's no exact. It's just what will invalidate that is if your sujood is less than your ruku. In other words, you ruku like this, and when you come up, and you sujood like this, that will invalidate. But I think the time is up, inshallah. I'm not sure. 3 minutes. Any other questions? Very learned man. Okay, comment over there. So there is a basis for that. You see, when you have a difference of opinion, right? When there's differences of opinion, so the part of this just learning different madhab, we're not learning different madhab, we're just giving a different view on the Hanafi. We're not going different madhab, but it's to know that if I teach one thing with regards to this hadith, right, and somebody might say something totally different, it doesn't mean he's going contrary to this hadith. It just means he has other supporting evidence over there. Sometimes there's a black area, there's a white area. Black area is drinking wine. White area is making salah. The grey area is where there's ijtihad of the scholars, investigation. And they have to do the best they can to come up with the answer. That's why there's differences of opinion in certain things. Jazakallah khair, shukran. Barakallah. I'm finding my groove here. I don't know where I must be when it comes to Jazakallah khair.
I'm just saying it was so interesting.